Good morning, Henry. Good morning, Eileen. Little Miss Trouble. That's Eileen Eliza, Little Miss Trouble. Now, Little Miss Trouble is moving house. Now, moving house is very stressful. It's as stressful as bereavement, which is when you lose somebody close to you. It's also as stressful as divorce, apparently. So, Little Miss Trouble lives in up-to-no-good cottage surrounded by fields and trees and more fields and more trees and even more fields. Her nearest neighbours live miles and miles away, and there is a very good reason for this. Look, here's all the trees and the fields, and there's her cottage. Yeah, I'd like to live there. Quite nice, wouldn't it? That very good reason is Miss Trouble. Nobody wants to live next door to somebody who causes so much trouble. There she is. Look at that grin. Oh. Reminds me of one or two students in the past, that grin. Somebody who telephoned Mr. Lazy at 5 o'clock every morning for a whole week. Oh, she's a bit of a mean, isn't she? Poor Mr. Lazy. Mind you, he is very lazy. At 5 o'clock. Oof. And somebody who told Mr. Wrong that the best thing to use to polish his car was boot polish. But Mr. Wrong is a bit of a plonker, isn't he? He's a wrong-a-monger, ba-doodly-doo. A wrong-a-donger, ba-doodly-doo. Now, because she lived all on her own, Miss Trouble found that she could not cause half as much trouble as she would like to. What little Miss Trouble longed for more than anything else was a neighbour. Now, I didn't look carefully at the word neighbour. Can you see neighbour? The last word there. It's got a U. In the UK, we have U's. One Monday, when Little Miss Trouble was walking in the woods near her house, she came upon a wishing well. "Well, I never," she said, and then she had an idea. She threw a coin in the well. "I wish I lived next door to somebody," she said out loud. Later that day, she looked out of her window. She discovered that, as if by magic, which it was magic, her house was next door to Box Cottage, which is where Mr. Chatterbox lives. Mr. Chatterbox, Eileen Eliza, you're a chatterbox. Now for some fun, giggled Miss Trouble. She crept down the lane, around the corner, up a telegraph pole, and cut the telephone line. Now, Miss Trouble's very silly there, and I don't want to ever see Henry or Eileen climb up one of them, okay? Poor Mr. Chatterbox. No telephone, no one to chat to. But it was then that he looked out of the window and saw Miss Trouble's house. 5 minutes later, there was a knock at little Miss Trouble's door. Knock, knock. "Hello," said Mr. Chatterbox. "You thought I'd pop round for a quick chat. Funny thing, you know, my telephone's broken and Mr. Chatterbox talked and chatted and chatted and talked through the morning, all afternoon and late into the night. The next day, Tuesday, a very tired little Miss Trouble went back to the wishing well and threw in another coin. "I wish that I lived next door to someone else," she said. And the very next morning, little Miss Trouble found herself living next door to Mr. Bump. Mr. Bump, I like Mr. Bump. She threw tiny stones at his windows to wake him up and smashed the window. Little Miss Trouble went back to the wishing well. On Wednesday, little Miss Trouble tried to play a trick on little Miss Lucky, but she discovered that little Miss Lucky is too lucky for any of Miss Trouble's tricks to work on her. Here's Miss Lucky, and look, she put the bucket of water above on the door top there on the door, but it didn't fall on Miss Lucky. On Thursday, there was nobody in at little Miss Late's house. She was late getting back from her holiday. Look at the pints of milk outside. On Friday, little Miss Trouble told Mr. Muddle that Mr. Small had called him an egghead. But Mr. Muddle got muddled up, and instead of being angry with Mr. Small, he thanked him. On Saturday, Little Miss Trouble let the tyres down on Mr. Forgetful's car. But Mr. Forgetful forgot he had a car and caught the bus. Cars are bad anyway. Get the bus. Alright. On Sunday, it was a very fed up Little Miss Trouble who returned to the wishing well to make a wish. And then she had a thought. A thought that went like this. The trouble with neighbours, thought Little Miss Trouble, is that they are too much trouble. And she went home and was very, very, very good and didn't make any trouble for anybody forever and ever and ever and ever. So she's no longer Miss Trouble, she's Miss Good. She's Miss Nice. Well, until the following Tuesday. Well done, Henry. Well done.